The ants have a new house. Sea monkeys and triops and snails and butterflies and stick insects and Miranbordigae. Bordigae.
Oh, goodness.
Thank you. Hi guys, and welcome back to the ant series. So where I just left off, I had built the tea farm, or I'd set it up, and if you haven't seen that video you can follow the card link there. Now what I've got to do is wait for all of this to dry. These areas are pretty much completely dry, but obviously the areas where I've added water to get into the nest are still a bit damp. So I will have to wait a little bit and then we'll add in the test tube. Whilst I'm waiting for everything to dry, I've decided to move the ant nest into a place where I know it's going to be secure and everything. So I've actually put it on this table. Well, it's not a table, it's a vivarium, an old vivarium that I sort of use as storage and a table. And it is full of, it's like my biology table basically. It's got dinoflagellates here, then we got like a cactus, an aloe vera and a mini greenhouse, and now the ants. And I have to say, this is actually quite sturdy, like it's fairly big as well. I actually thought it was going to be smaller, and it's fairly big and nice and sturdy, so we don't have to worry about it being knocked over too much. But I wanted to move it into its main position. I may move it eventually, but its main position for now, so we don't disturb the ants anymore once they've moved in. So I've just gone and got the ants. I don't know how well you'll see them because I haven't got my macro lens, so you can't get real close with this one. But there's actually a lot of workers, I did not realise, and I think they are starting to unplug that bit to the outworld. The temperatures have started to rise here a bit, so what I'm going to do is disconnect them from this tube and pop them in. Okay, here we go. Try to do it so carefully so I don't disturb them. Okay, so I've got my macro lens on. And here are all the workers. Now I did, you might be able to hear it actually in the background, I did get some tin foil because I read that it's good to cover them up so they're still dark. But now I've put them in, I think, should I take them out again and put the tin foil around them, or is that going to disturb them anymore? I don't know. There's some of the larvae. The queen's just in there as well. So I think I'm going to leave them for a bit now, see what they do. Come back a little bit later, and it's getting darker here anyway, so hopefully the light shouldn't disturb them too much. This is so hard to focus because of the short depth field, but that ant is kind of pulling at the queen's butt. I'm not really sure why. But a lot of ants have got out of here, and I've also seen one attempt to climb up the side, and I have to say the PTFE doesn't seem to have done much because I put some around the rim of the tank and I've seen ants up there, but they can't actually get out, so that's good. I also did a bit of a time lapse and noticed that some of the workers were actually bringing excavated clay back up to the sort of spongy thing. They seem to like to build with that. That ant is still inspecting the queen's bottom. Oh look, there's one with excavated clay. Yeah. So it's a lot later in the evening, so it's been dark for ages, and all of the larvae have been moved. And now I think they're preparing to move the queen. So it's the next day, and overnight I found they didn't actually move the larvae out, they've actually just moved them up even further. And what they've been doing is collecting all the excavated clay and filling up their test tube with it. And I think they're actually creating a wall along here, probably to make it dark again. So I'm not going to force them out the test tube, they can do what they want. It's just kind of funny that they have the potential to move out, but they're actually like, got some new resources here. You can see one, so new resources, and we're going to use it to improve our test tube. So I've been sort of watching a few of them, and they are just collecting massive chunks of excavated clay. And even in the actual test tube here, there was only a little bit yesterday and now it's full. So it wouldn't surprise me if after a while the entire walls of the test tube are just full of it. So the ants have been in here about 2 or 3 weeks and they have not moved. They are still in here. They've actually built that up even more, as you can see. We did have an escapee, so I've had to put blue tack around the sides. I don't know how it got out. There's probably the teeny tiniest gap. And I don't know if it was like a newly hatched out ant and it was just really small, but it somehow got out. But I haven't had any since. And the PTFE just did not work, like, at all. I put on so many layers around the edge and even now the ants can walk up it. But what I'm going to do now is to give us an idea of how many ants are actually in here, how many workers we have. I'm going to put in a tiny bit of honey and see if they all come out. You can actually see one of the ants right down there. So I've got this very thin bit of bamboo, and basically I dipped it in honey, but then I also wiped a lot of it off, so it's a very tiny bit of honey, but it's enough that I think it would attract the ants. There's already one coming on it, so let's go and have a watch. So I've been sat here for a little bit waiting for the workers to come and get some honey. They haven't yet, but if you have a closer look at this test tube, like, just see how like packed they've made it. And I'm not going to like force them out of there because actually they're doing a great job with protecting the nest. They've got all their resources that they need and they've done it really well, so I'm not going to force them into the rest of the nest. This might just be a lengthy process, but it's pretty cool to see what they have completed in this time. Okay, this one worker came over and collected a load of honey, and look, it's back. I saw it took it right back into the nest and now it's back, so I don't know if some more are going to come out, but that's pretty cool. And as you can see, there's not like loads of honey that they can get stuck to it. Like, it can walk on it and that's fine. It's sort of soaked into the bamboo now. Let me just get a better focus on it. There you go. So that's great to see. The other day I actually put in a piece of already dead mealworm, but it was freshly dead. And I put that in at night and by the morning it was disappeared. So they obviously took that back into the nest. So it's great to see this, and also it's probably the first lot of sugar they've had in a while, because obviously when they're hibernating they block themselves off from the sugar water, and I hadn't put any honey in since, so they probably greatly appreciate this. And we have a second one, so this is good to see because obviously they use pheromones to show each other where the food is. So we got that second one down there. And they're going to be collecting that, and hopefully we can get a number on how many sort of workers we have. They won't all leave the nest, but we can have a rough estimate.